How does the moon do what it does? This is an important question that most people already think there's a definite answer to. First, we'll need to know what gravity really is before anything but a description could possibly be made about how the moon really does what it does. And we all know that a description is not an explanation. So what is gravity? Well, I postulate gravity as being a modality of dielectric acceleration, much like incoherent magnetism. It's important to note that gravity is not a constant, as we are all taught in institutions around the globe. I owe a great deal of thanks to the crew of the Thunderbolts project, including but not limited to Wal Thornhill, Dave Talbot, and Steve Crothers, for bringing the works of Velikovsky and Christian Birkeland into the light, giving me a much better understanding of the mechanisms at play as I look towards the sky in wonderment. I also owe a great deal of thanks to Kenneth Wheeler, the author of Uncovering the Missing Secrets of Magnetism. Without his insight, I'd still be in the dark on what light really is, and how it actually travels as induction through the ether by perturbation. I never truly understood magnetism until Kenneth showed me visually with his educational and quite entertaining presentations. As you may have already suspected, I am not a drinker of the Newton Kool-Aid, nor do I ride for Camp Einstein and his stolen theory of relativity. Here is a model of a Birkeland current. You'll notice the lines are going in opposite directions along the concentric cylinders as you descend towards the center of the diagram. These lines represent the direction of the current. Lines going in opposite directions represent fields having opposite charge within the circuitry of this diagram. If you'll take a look at this experiment, the relaxation of charge on a particle, you'll see the very basic idea in another modality. I predict the modalities are fractal in nature, being that we see this is true for plasma in glow mode. At this point, I am making an assertion that this must be true while not in glow mode as well.
This sphere is moving between electrodes having a potential difference of about 25 kilovolts. It is immersed in a slightly conducting oil. The mechanism responsible for the bouncing motion is basic to the interaction of electric fields and moving media. The applied voltage induces charges on the electrodes and the contacting metallic sphere. By virtue of the charges on its surface, the sphere is attracted toward the upper plate. But as the sphere rises, the charge induced on its surface leaks off through the liquid, and eventually gravity returns the sphere to the plate to renew the process. Here we use corn oil with a relaxation time of about 1 second. Now we have transformer oil with a relaxation time of over 10 seconds. The sphere reaches the upper electrode long before the charges leak off. Upon contact, it acquires charges of the opposite polarity and is pulled downward by the electric field and gravity. The sidewise motion shows that now even charges on the wall are important.
In this Hohmann transfer scheme, the blue line would represent the perigee of the moon's orbit, the red line, the apogee. In between the blue and the red line, the green line represents the moon's elliptical orbit. The red most outer line represents a charged wall, as in the relaxation of charge on a particle experiment. The blue line would represent the opposite charge, or the ground. And if you'll notice, it never crosses any of the other charged field lines. Remember, in the relaxation of charge on a particle experiment, the top plate was highly charged, and the ball was drawn to it until it became like charged and was repelled away again until equilibrium was reached between the charge variants. The moon is on a slightly elliptical orbit. This is why. It bounces, so to speak, from wall to wall, while at the same time flowing along the modality of current that allows for weaker and stronger forces, i.e. modalities of dielectric, to operate through each other without cancellation. Here you'll see that the moon doesn't seem to travel across the equator where you would imagine the dielectric plane to be. Look again at this diagram and you'll see there's secondary arrows that are showing the actual direction of the magnetism in respect to the charge flow or current. The reason the moon may be facing in one direction with respect to the Earth is because the bulk of the mass may be facing the Earth. Incoherent magnetism, i.e. gravity, the weaker force, is allowed to operate through the stronger force of its fractal brother, electromagnetism, that dictates the orbital path it takes.